Hey guys, how you doing? It's Henry at Mowers and Blowers. As you guys can see, just doing the finishing touches on some of the suggestions that I got from our commenters yesterday. This red paint job came out great, you know what I mean? Not a restoration, of course, just to get it red, that's all. So if you're a painter, don't expect perfection because it's far from it. But this red paint really, it's brilliant. And I don't say that, you know, from a standpoint of like the way the British say brilliant. Brilliant is great. But the brilliance is this eye-catching red that's just so brilliantly vibrant. You know what I mean? And that's what the sunrise red is all about, especially gloss. Just looks really, really eye-catching, you know? A brilliant shine is what it is. Definitely a lot more interesting than the dull green, hunter green that, I probably would have just, touched it up with. But I'm really glad that we did this red because it really looks fantastic. Some of you suggested yesterday in the comments to take some quick color. 98 cents black quick color gloss paint that you can get from Home Depot. Sorry, only in the United States. I believe the Home Depots in Canada don't have it. Sorry. And also Canada doesn't have the $24.97 garden batteries that you get at Walmart. They're pretty expensive in Canada is what I hear. Anyway, so some suggestions was to quick color the muffler guard and the front end a little bit. The shifter knob, the lever itself needed some black. So I just took this old piece of cardboard, cut a slit in it, put it over there so that the shaft would stick out, painted around it. I'll have to drive this later, so I didn't paint the knob, because then my hand would be all black, Put some tape around the small cracks. It only had 3 small cracks, so the Gorilla Tape sealed it really nicely. Used ATF to wipe down all the black parts. Didn't even need to do any spray paint around the dash area because it was mostly just dirty, not so much rust. And the ATF really, blackened that out. As you can see, no paint at all in those black areas, just ATF. So I'm gonna drive this out. I'm gonna drive this out, or push it out, and take some pictures. Wowzers! Wowzers! Sold a couple of more gas tanks, drag links, light assemblies for that Murray. Probably 6 or 7 packages today for Quinn to pick up. It's really selling a lot of stuff on eBay. Unprecedented. I've never sold this much, almost stuff on a daily basis. All lawnmower parts. So obviously something's going on around the nation because, with this COVID thing, right? A lot of people lost their jobs and fired their landscapers. So people are buying or getting their equipment ready to do it themselves. And so a lot of people are fixing their equipment because they need parts. And if you have parts, sell them on eBay right now because people are buying them left and right, They don't even care about the price. Speaking of eBay, I got this belt off of eBay for $6.50. This is the 5/8 by 74-inch MTD, typical MTD belt. 5/8, that's very thick, you know what I mean? As you know, with this deck that came off the Yardmachines by MTD, the way it works is it's just 2 pulleys. There's no tension arm or idler pulleys on this deck. Basically, this part attaches to the double stack pulley on the crankshaft, right? And then when you lower the notch 1 inch, you lower the notch by 1, right? This thing moves back 1 inch. And then it makes that tension of 1 inch onto the thing, and it causes the blades to spin. Pull back on the handle, lifts up 1 notch, moves forward 1, loosens the belt so it doesn't turn. But I've always had problems with it. It's such an exact science with that 1 inch, you know what I mean? On new belts where they're very stiff and stuff, even when you have the engine on, it may spin the blades. And being that these pulleys have been oiled so well, a little bit of movement is going to turn them. So I'm a little worried about that. But I'm going to go meet somebody right now to go sell that Craftsman Auto Choke Weed Whacker that I worked on the other day. Selling it for $60, which is fine, you know. When I come back, I'm going to park the red LT1000 in the back after I take some pictures. Get the Yardmachines out here so we can install this deck and see if it works. So I'm back. I just sold my Craftsman Weed Whacker for $60. I had it listed for $75. Had a lot of bites, like 25 bites. But nobody ever shows up for those 25 bites, you know. Is it available? Sure, it's available. And then nothing, you know. That's how people are. Flaky. Anyway, finally found a guy. He drove all the way from Manorville. It's like a 40-minute drive just to pick up a weed whacker. He gave me the same story as everybody else. It's exactly what I just told you. Is that he fired his landscaper. He wants to do it himself. This guy had absolutely no idea what the hell was going on. He asked me, how do you do an oil change on it? How do you put the trimmer wire, the thing in there? Didn't know what an auto choke was. Didn't know what a primer was. I had to explain to him about the 2-stroke oil. You know, you get people like that who have had landscapers their entire lives, and this is the first time they're touching anything with a small engine in it. You know what I mean? Well, you got a good deal. I mean, starts up great, works great. It's kind of heavy, though, and long. Anyway, I'm going to fire this baby up. I'm going to park it in the backyard so I can get the Yardmachines out. Let's see if it just starts. Hey. Fuel shut off.
Henry, why do you have a sweatshirt and sweatpants on? Looks hot.
It's kind of warm, but I just woke up, so I'm always cold. That's right. Here at Mowers and Blowers, we push them into the garage and they come out driving. See, safety switch works. I just took some pictures. Looks great. Runs great. I think I'll mow my lawn again. So I'll just park it here in the sun. Grass doesn't really grow there anyway, so it'll cure the paint a little bit better, you know, with the UV rays. Sure beats what it looked like before, huh? And I got it for free! So now we're up to this. Yardmachines. Deck, belt, and mower deck install. It's been sitting here since I ordered the belt. Let's see if it starts. hydro. It's hydrostatic. Grease lightning. You guys saw, it completely sucked. Could I say that any more clearer? It sucked. Getting the rod in the back was the most difficult part. Lining up the 3 on one side and 3 on the other side with the R-clips, that wasn't too bad. As long as you maneuver the deck into the height and the angle, you can get it right in there, put the R-clips in there. But then to get the square bracket with the hole in it to match up in between these two things, right? And then try to stick the rod in between the tires. What a challenge. Did I mention it sucked? Oh yeah. Anyway, I don't think this will work. I'm looking at the way the belts are. I mean, when I turn this engine on, if I could get it to turn on, because now it's got like the friction of the blades and the belt on there, it may not even turn over. And when it turns over, I almost guarantee you the blades are going to move. So, I mean, it's always a problem with this, you know. I'm just going to give it a try. I'm going to sit on it this time because... Sit on it, Ralph! I'm going to sit on it because blades might be turning. See? I can feel it trying to drag onto the back. I can see remnants of the belt being rubbed off. Because while I do pull this, if I do pull this back all the way, right, the brakes on the spindles actually try to stop it. And because the crankshaft pulley is still shredding it, right, I could feel like pieces of it are being worn out on the bottom. But then I kept on doing it because I figured, oh, well, you're kind of stretching the belt a little bit and getting rid of the crisp new feel of Kevlar or rubber, whatever it is, and then, you know, maybe then that way it won't catch when I don't want it to catch, you know. But it looks like it's starting to fray the outside of it. So, you know, I knew this was going to happen. It's a complete nightmare with these MTD decks. So I'm just researching how this mechanism works, right? So check this out. So I took this access panel in the middle off, right? So look, now I'm raising the deck with the handle. Okay, watch. No, that's not what I want you to see. Here, I'm gonna go deeper. Okay, see that? Alright, so now I'm moving the handle upwards. Okay? It pulls that rod forward 1 inch. Okay? This creates tension. This takes the tension off the belt. Moving forward 1 inch, and that releases the slack on the belt. See, I need to make more slack because it's catching, right, on the flywheel, on the double stack pulley. So look, as you can see right there, it's threaded. So if I trace this bar all the way down, loosen it, turn it clockwise in more, when it pulls this way, it'll pull more forward. And I want it to pull more forward. So I need to find a way to turn that rod a few threads in, so basically shortening the rod. I'm going to try that. So I'm under the tractor now on the right side. That rod leads to this connection right there. I'm going to pull that pin out, pop the rod out, and turn it several, maybe 3 revolutions clockwise to tighten that rod.
One of the reasons why it catches on the belt is because it's very rusty. Cleaning the pulley, when I clean the pulley, the rust will not be so rough on the pulley, so the belt will slide when there's no tension. That might have something to do with it. I know this is kind of dangerous, but it's the easiest way. It looks a lot better already. Pulley's clean now, see?
So I figured out why it was hard to start. It's because the battery was like 11 volts. And then I realized that the lights were on every time I tried to start it, right? So I was on the circuit where it wasn't the stator wire. So for some crazy reason, right, battery wasn't charging when the lights were on. And then I remembered why I did that is because the light switch was seized, right? So I just changed the light switch and connected it correctly. And now with the lights on and without the lights on, battery charges at over 13 volts. Scores! I think that after I wire bristle brushed the double stack pulley, the pulley on the bottom for the belt drive, I think it's smoother now, so it doesn't catch, you know? So I think we got that going on. Another thing I need to do is, I need to find some keepers, because with the belt, right, it being looser now, right, it sloshes around. So when it sloshes around, it catches onto that pulley too. So if I found some keepers to keep the belt straight, that would help a lot too. So I'm going to go into my bag of parts and go see if I can find something that will keep the left and right pulleys, the belt, from being too bowed. When the belt bows, like if you don't have a keeper over here, right, the belt will tend to bow outwards. So when it bows outwards, right, it'll catch more on something else. But if the keepers are there to keep the belt straight towards the pulley, right, the crankshaft pulley, then it may not catch onto the crankshaft. At least that's what I'm thinking. Makes sense. I'm gonna go find some keepers. Alright guys, I'm back. It feels like I've been doing this thing all day, you know. I guess I kind of have. But it's a good thing it's a nice day out, you know. So I went into my bin of parts in the back, right? And I actually found all these brackets and stuff, but I didn't have any keepers. The only real keeper I had was for the crankshaft, which I couldn't use because it's so hard to bend, you know. So I ended up making some keepers over here. I think that'll kind of work. I hope it doesn't rub too much. And we'll find out in 2 seconds whether or not this works or not. Let me get you closer. I want to show you what I did. So as you know, I opened up that panel over there and I turned that rod clockwise, maybe 3 or 4 threads. So I know now that when you engage the height adjustment all the way to the rest area, right, the belt is quite loose, you know. As you also saw, I grinded down the bottom mower deck pulley, right, so that it was less rusty and doesn't grip the belt as well as it was before. And that's what I want. I want it slippery so that it slides when the tension is off. In addition, I noticed also that the bottom lip, the 2 lips, the top and the bottom lip, right, I noticed that this lip was dented inwards a little bit. So because of that, it gripped it even more. So I took some channel locks and I pulled it down a little bit so that this 5/8 width is accommodated through this pulley. Here is the keepers that I made. I had to bend it a little and then cut it, but when it's tight, it doesn't touch, and then when it's loose, it won't bow, and it doesn't really touch. It's like a millimeter or a centimeter in between the pulley. Did the same thing on this side. See, when it's tightened, it does that. When you let go, it's like that. So this at least just keeps it on here, you know, and doesn't bow this thing out so much. Because when it's bowed out, it has a tendency to grab the front part of the pulley. So I guess we'll try it. So here we go. We're gonna give it a try. Let's see what happens. Now let's engage the PTO. Now we'll disengage again. Awesome. Lights. Success, success. I tell you, we got success. Yeah, it took all day. You know what? You got to do what you got to do. Anyway, I think I got this all taken care of. Tomorrow, if it's a nice day, I'm going to power wash this baby, and then maybe I'll list it for sale. Anyway, I'm glad I was here outside all day. It's a beautiful day. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers.